Let's stop playing around with this issue and let's talk seriously. What are we in fact doing? What we are in fact doing is criminalizing mental health. That's what we're doing.
Tonight, we will examine the impact of the closing of the 6 of the 12 mental health clinics under Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel's 2012 budget. Since the closure of the mental health clinics 5 months ago, the consequences of unmet mental health needs across communities in Chicago have been made apparent and have prompted an urgent call to reopen these clinics. Closing these clinics further exacerbated the disparities in access to vital mental health services for those who are underserved and underrepresented, specifically in the Latino and African American communities. Quality mental health services have a positive ripple effect upon communities, and dismantling the system will develop into a major public health issue. Indeed, city data showed that in just the month of April, when the 6 mental health clinics closed, psychiatric hospitalizations doubled when compared to the same month last year. Today in particular, we will focus on the devastating impact of the closure of Northwest Mental Health Clinic, which for over 30 years provided bilingual and culturally competent mental health services to residents of Logan Square and the surrounding neighborhoods. Northwest Clinic, as well as the Back of the Yards Clinic, were the only 2 public bilingual clinics in the city of Chicago. Closing these clinics has worsened the current crisis of access to culturally competent care for Chicago's large Spanish-speaking population. Tonight, we are here to urge all of you to take action, to sign the letter to the mayor and to the commissioner, to call your aldermen, and to tell them to have the reopening of the 6 public mental health clinics included in the 2013 budget. We are honored today to host an array of speakers, most notably Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart. Tonight's presenters will share their stories about the importance of mental health care and how the lack of these services impacts their lives. Our presenters come from diverse backgrounds and experiences, but all share one passion, that healthcare is a human right. Next, we will hear a client testimony from Debbie Delgado, a consumer who received services at the now closed Northwest Mental Health Clinic. She will speak about her experience at the clinic and how the closure has affected her life. Debbie?
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Good. My name is Deborah Delgado. I'm here because the mayor had closed 6 of the mental health clinics, and one of them is Logan Square, in Northwest Logan Square. I'm sorry. The reason I'm here is because I've been a patient since 1990. Been there I have 4 children. When I had started going there, they were ages 2, 4, 8, and 9. When I started going there, I started getting it for depression and behavior. So when my 2 youngest were 19 and 20, my son Jeremiah and Joshua, the youngest is Joshua and the oldest is Jeremiah. Well, Jeremiah had called me up and he said, "Mommy, I'm on my way home." I asked him, how is he gonna get home? He told me, "Mommy, I got away." And a few minutes later, I'm hearing shots. I grabbed the phone, I dropped the phone, I tried to redial, was unable to reach him. When I got on the scene, I had seen the driver on my left side. He had a bullet in his chest and on the side. When I looked forward, I had my little one holding his brother in his arm. The little one got shot in the kneecap and the oldest one got shot in the neck and he died in his brother's arm. A female that was giving a ride home, she got shot up 7 times and 2 days later she died and she was 3 months pregnant. So I was starting to go to the Northwest and the next day to tell my counselor that he had killed my son. And, she went and she grabbed me, the staff grabbed me and they hugged me. Without the Northwest Mental Health Clinic, I would not be here today. They had taught me how to forgive my son's killer because I had to face him for me to live. I faced my son's killer to tell him that I love him, to forgive me, and so he could live and I could live. And I am very angry because I had went to the mayor's house, I had went to the Daily Center, and all I did was get arrested. I went to the Board of Health and I get arrested. It took me 12 hours to be in prison. Why? Because I was trying to tell them you're killing our community. Ever since April 9, we already have 4 deaths. We have 18 admitted in a hospital. We got patients dying. And I also have my son dying at home because when we closed on April 9, he was getting medication. He started seeing his counselor, being on time, never missed appointment. But when April 9 came, he shut down. So when I said that we're shutting down, I said I lost a son in the street, now I'm losing a son at home. Because a lot of these patients do not have their medications. They had sent us to 2 different locations. Half of us went to Campbell and Roosevelt, and half of us went to Peterson and Pulaski, that's 5,800. When I went, they had sent me and my son to 5,800. When I went on the bus, it took me 1 hour and 10 minutes to get there. On 5,600, I have to pass 3 cemeteries before I get to my counselor. When I get to see my counselor, I was a wreck. When I got there was just a drywall as my room, and I could hear the conversation next door. So when the mayor says that he got better places for us, he's a liar. Because we do not want to be there. We want to stay in our community. I have marched with the teachers, I marched with the Army people, I marched with the nurses, I marched with the youth 10 miles for a drama center. What else can we do? Where is these mayors? Where are these aldermen? What else can we do? And I think each one of you is here as a community knowing that we need this in our community. I don't want to lose a son at home. So please, let's continue fighting and let's continue bringing back our community and bringing back our city, because this is our city. The mayor belongs in Washington. He doesn't belong here. So let's fight.
Debbie, we thank you from the bottoms of our hearts for having the courage to share your story with us. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker. Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart was elected in 2006 and has done some great work to change the county's approach to eviction and foreclosure processes for people in the last few years. He's here tonight to talk about the connection between the closure of mental health clinics and the Cook County jail system. Sheriff Tom Dart, we are happy to have you here this evening, and you will have 10 minutes to speak.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is very hard to follow. I mean, horrible. I don't know what to say. Words can't describe that. I'm here to talk about mental health. I don't want to say from a different angle, but from maybe a different side. Like everybody else, I suppose, I don't like to be corrected. Yeah, let me get this out of here. There we go. I like everybody else, not someone who enjoys being corrected by anyone, I suppose. My children don't, I don't. I made the statement the last time I was together with people talking about this issue that I was the largest mental health provider in the state of Illinois. I was corrected because I was wrong. I am the largest mental health provider in the country. And as I've told people before, Can you walk through the logic of this with me? I tell them that if there was the greatest minds of our planet that came together and said to themselves, you know what, dealing with the mental health issue, who do we want to be the head of it? If they all came together and said, you know what, let's get that guy who graduated with a history major, that's the guy we want to run it, I'd feel a little bit better because there was some thought put to it. But there's no thought put to it. And that's why I have a real difficult time with any of the politicians from the entire spectrum who sit there and say, well, you know, we didn't vote against that, we didn't do that. Well, you know what, I was in our legislature years ago, and when you don't fund something, it's as if you're voting against it. It's the same thing. It is amazing how many times you find people sit there and say, well, it wasn't me, I didn't do that, I didn't do that. No, seriously. I don't accept those type of responses from my children. And we shouldn't expect them from adults either, especially people we elect. We have, obviously, limited money. We know that. But at the same point, when you don't fund something, what is going to happen? I'm here to tell you what's going to happen. When we don't fund services properly, there isn't as if every night fairy dust is spread through the clouds and lands on anybody who's suffering any type of mental illness, and the next morning they're fine. No, I'll tell you what happens to them. They end up in my jail. And I don't know a person on the planet who thinks that's good. But I often find myself telling people, let's stop playing around with this issue and let's talk seriously. What are we in fact doing? What we are in fact doing is criminalizing mental health. That's what we're doing. I thought when I was coming here to talk to you tonight, I was thinking, you know, I could walk through story after story. The stories are all there. When I was leaving, literally to come here, the receptionist in my office said, well, we just had to call a service because we had someone, a lady who is laying on the stairs in front of my office because she had just been released, had nowhere to go, and so she was laying on the stairs. She had all sorts of signs of serious mental illness, and we were trying to help her then. What happens at our place, okay? So somebody who is not getting the proper treatment, someone who's not getting the proper follow-up, they then end up doing all sorts of different activities. And I can run a list of them for you. Virtually none of them anybody in this room would consider to be a serious criminal violation. Well, because there is no type of care for them, they end up being arrested, they end up coming to my place. They end up sitting there for a while, some shorter than others, and then they get released. And here, folks, is the thing that is particularly scary. As I tell people, there is literally no distinction in my place when you leave. The person who is leaving my place because they were bailed out and they're charged with attempt murder leaves the same time of day as the guy who was in there for stealing a car. And the person who was in there with mental illness, they leave out of the same door, same time of day, the same way as everybody else, to the streets. And apparently, miraculous things then occur once they go to the street, because that's where we let them go. And then everyone sits there and acts puzzled when people come back in over and over again. And that's where this book comes in handy. I asked my staff before I was leaving, can you just give me this one woman, just one woman, that I know because I've been working on this case particularly lately. Once again, because as the Cook County Sheriff, I'm also in charge of mental health, mind you. This is one woman, and these pictures of hers, I'm going to blow by them quickly so you won't be able to tell who she is. These are all the different arrests, all minor arrests of this one person. These are her mugshots for all her different arrests that have her in my place. Every single one of them, I can go through, minor ones, all serious mental illness underneath it, but she keeps coming in over and over again. And we as a society, we know this is going on. We know it. The people in elective office, they know what's going on, but for them it's okay. This book, what is this book? Is this a speech I'm going to give? Thank God for everybody. No, it's not. What this book is this is since April. The people that have come in my place, not just people with diagnosed mental health illnesses, these are people who've come in who have caused some degree of problem in the jail. They've either struck somebody, they've been struck by somebody, or they've tried to kill themselves, they've done a myriad of things here. These are all people that have come on my radar screen. The number that is conservative, they talk about, is 1/3 of the jail population has diagnosed serious mental illness. That means over 3,300 people are in my jail tonight with mental illness. And do we have a plan for them? Absolutely not. Our plan is we're going to kick them to the street. And when we kick them to the street, do we then have a great follow-up plan for them to ensure they're getting the proper care so they can go back to their communities, become an active member of their communities, become someone who's now a vital part of it? Absolutely not. We have nothing. They go right back into the street, and once again, everyone scratches their head and wonders, then why is it that we're paying $143 a day to house that person in the Cook County Jail? Because there is no thoughtful plan. What this is people kicking the can down the road saying, well, I'm really not voting against anything, I'm really not doing anything all that bad, we're just not funding something. Well, guess what, folks? This is the real world. Real things occur when people make decisions. And what happens is these people are coming in my jail. And when I say these people, I talk to them, I've met with them. One case after another is heartbreaking, absolute heartbreaking. Some of the families more connected than others. We in the jail put together more connections than have ever been done within our own budget, without anybody else helping us. We have triage vans that we have on the street to go and try to help these people. But this is, honest to God, fighting an uphill battle, because this is not traditionally what a sheriff is supposed to do. And I don't mind it. I signed up to do non-traditional things at this place. But we can't keep doing this. And we certainly can't keep doing this and giving everybody the pass of a lifetime saying, oh, it's okay. It's okay to keep doing this. Talk to some of these family members. They would break your heart. They have tried so hard to work with these folks on every different level, and our system has let them down. So from a million different angles, you can hear from people tonight of the heartbreak. As they said, I could never begin to understand the heartbreak of the previous speaker. Could never do that. It's just, it floors you thinking of that. But think in terms of the 3,300 people I have in there today, the heartbreak to their family, the heartbreak to them that they're not being treated properly, but then also think of the communities they're going back to with no safety net, no nothing. Who's going to get hurt by one of these people who does not get the proper treatment, is not getting the proper help? So, folks, as I said, I could dress this thing up. I could give you anecdote after anecdote, but the harsh reality is we as a society are letting them down. We are letting them down, and we're masquerading this ruse that we're taking care of these folks. We are not doing it. Absolutely, positively not doing it. And once again, I challenge you to find anybody, any sane person who's going to sit there and say, the person who should be directing mental health treatment for the largest group of people in the country is the sheriff. Nobody should be saying that who doesn't belong in my place, frankly. This is something that we need to get very, very serious about. I'm excited with all the different activities that you folks have talked about, you've been involved with, because we do have to raise the decibel level on this. Our staff is very aware that before the year is out, we are going to be doing some things internally to try to raise the decibel level, because we are not just going to sit here and keep counting these numbers and counting these lives going by. I'm getting my hook, and I'm not going to outstay my welcome like Clint Eastwood apparently did the other night, which thankfully, I don't watch that stuff. But I want to thank you for doing this, but folks, everybody in this room, you don't need a pitch from me and a rah-rah, go out and get them type of thing. You folks are already doing it. I just want to let you know, as someone who is on the front lines of this in a different perspective, I cannot tell you how necessary this is and how much this will help our communities and help individuals if we are as passionate as we need to be about this. As I say, you're not going to see me lacking passion on this. We're going to rock a lot of boats. We're going to upset a lot of people because this is wrong. We're not going to stand there and let this continue to go on. Thank you.
Thank you for that inspiring speech. Now we will hear from Rebecca Fort-Bass, a child adolescent psychologist at Lurie Children's Hospital and a psychiatry professor at Northwestern University. She will discuss the lack of mental health care available to children and their families and the importance of providing services which are culturally competent.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Fort-Bass. I'm a clinical child psychologist at Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago, formerly Children's Memorial Hospital. I've been asked to talk about how the closings of community mental health centers in Chicago have affected services at Lurie Children's Hospital and the parents and the patients and the families that we serve. They always say to start off your talk by making the audience laugh, but I regret to say there's not going to be any punchlines tonight. Let me share with you some interesting facts. At Lurie, we've seen a noticeable change in the acuity and the severity of emotional disorders seen in all of our services since the closing of the community mental health clinics. Due to the lack of community-based services, families are waiting until their children are in crisis before seeking services because it means traveling farther from home. Wait lists at the remaining community-based mental health clinics are so long that pediatricians are advising families to bypass wait lists by going to the emergency room to get a psych eval. So the Lurie emergency room visits are up 2 to 3 times what they used to be. And talking with colleagues here tonight, I understand that the same is true at Stroger. Another sign of increased acuity is that more kids are being hospitalized with substance abuse problems, more lethal suicide attempts, and multiple prescriptions for emotional and behavioral disorders. In the psychiatric inpatient unit, we usually expect to see a slowdown during the summertime. That has not happened this year. We also have had record-setting wait lists to get into our partial hospitalization program. I could go on and on. This is a really serious situation, and I cannot begin to tell you everything you need to know in 5 minutes. We obviously have very dedicated and competent clinicians at Lurie and in the community, just not enough of them. I think the best way to bring some of the issues to light for you today is to share with you the story of one of the families with whom I work, changing their names and their important details to preserve confidentiality. I want to tell you about Jessica, who's a 14-year-old girl who lives with her Spanish-speaking single mother. Jessica previously had been a soft-spoken, compliant, straight-A student and a gifted dancer. Her mother, while employed, battled bipolar disorder. By the time Jessica got to see me in outpatient services, she had been hospitalized twice, once for an overdose on her mother's sleeping medicine, and once for serious ongoing suicidal ideation. For her first hospitalization, she was assigned a SAS worker who seemed very nice, but frankly was overwhelmed with her caseload and took a long time to return calls. Jessica's second hospitalization occurred after her medication ran out, but before she could be seen by a psychiatrist in the community due to the wait list. Before seeing me, she had been referred to a partial hospitalization program that took her 2 hours to get to and had no Spanish-speaking providers that could communicate with her parents. Needless to say, she dropped out after 3 days. The distance and the language were an insurmountable barrier for this family, and the mother was afraid of losing her job because she had already missed so much time to take care of her daughter. Jessica strikes me as one of the most profoundly depressed kids I've ever worked with. Last year, her cousin had been murdered, mistaken for a gang member, and she had persistent thoughts about wanting to die than to be with them. She had given up all of her dancing and social activities and had stopped caring for her appearance and was spending most of her free time sleeping. Her mother explained to me that before Jessica had been hospitalized, she had called Children's and at least 10 other hospitals and community mental health centers, only to be told that the wait to be seen for a first-time appointment was 6 months or more. She called time after time as she saw her daughter deteriorate, withdrawing from friends and family, experimenting with drugs, refusing to go to school. Mom tried everything. She begged and pleaded with the intake workers, she yelled, she threatened. But the message was always the same. She would have to wait 6 months. Some agencies informed her they were closing due to funding cuts or that they were not even keeping wait lists anymore. What would you do if you saw your child spiraling and were told there was no place to go for 6 months? Now imagine that you had bipolar disorder on top of that. In working with Jessica, several important barriers to treatment have come up. One, her mother struggled to be consistent in attending appointments and administering Jessica's medication because she was inconsistent with her own medication regimen. The community mental health center where she was receiving treatment closed, and she had not followed up with a referral to another agency due to the distance involved and her fear that there would not be Spanish-speaking providers in that neighborhood. Jessica's mother, without her meds, was inconsistent in her parenting. The mother also had an explosive temper that would cause her to get into physical altercations every time she tried to set a limit with Jessica. This led to increased depression and suicide for her daughter. Jessica travels an hour to see me, taking 2 buses and a train each way. I think in large part because I speak Spanish and can communicate with her parent. However, she often misses her appointments due to the family discovering at the last minute that they can't afford the trip to Lurie Children's and back. This case continues to be one of my most challenging, not only because of the severity of her depression, but also because of the lack of services for her primary caretaker in the community. I'd like to end by saying two things. Having community-based mental health services close by and available without a long wait with culturally and linguistically competent providers is essential to decreasing barriers to treatment for some of the most marginalized populations. Parental mental health is a key to child mental health. When parents do not get the treatment they need, their ability to nurture and parent is compromised. I would urge that now, more than ever, being in the worst recession in decades, we need more, not fewer, community-based mental health.
Rebecca, thank you for summing up so beautifully exactly what kind of care we need and what we are not getting. Crystal Colon from Iraq Veterans Against the War will speak about the impact of the closed clinics on our veterans.
Hello, I'm a little short for this podium. My name is Crystal Colon. I served in the United States Army for 5.5 years, and during that time I was deployed twice to Iraq. As a cause of my deployments, I suffered from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but of course just by looking at me you wouldn't guess this. And that's part of the problem with mental health, is it's an invisible illness. You can't see it. It's not like missing a leg, it's not like missing an arm. It's not a wound you can see, therefore it's easy to ignore for people. I've spent a lot of time organizing veterans and working with veterans to get help at the VA. And that is translated into working here with STOP and the mental health movement, because a lot of veterans actually don't qualify for help at the VA for various amount of reasons. They're considered to be non-veterans because they went AWOL, or they refused to deploy, or they were kicked out under their honorable conditions. And because they don't qualify for services at the VA, the only place they can seek mental health is at public mental health clinics. With those closing, there's more veterans on the street that don't get the treatment they need, that don't get the counseling services they need, and they don't get the treatment that they need. This translates into weaker communities because there's an increase in crime and violence, and like the sheriff was saying, they end up in prison and jail where they don't belong. They don't get the services they need, they don't get the treatment they need. So the city closed these clinics supposedly to save money. Are they really doing this? Is the mayor actually saving any money by closing these clinics? No. Us here in the room know that. We know that they're not saving any money. So why are they doing this? What is the reason for this? Why are some people less valuable than others? Greed. I like that. So I just wanted to encourage everyone to keep fighting these battles. They're not going to open up these clinics for us because we ask nicely and because we plead with them. It's going to take us all working together and strengthening the movement. And when the mental health movement reached out to the veteran community, we jumped on that as quickly as we could and decided to support one another, not only because we live in the same city and we're part of the same community, but because we're fighting the same battles just on different fronts. Our fight, for the most part, tends to be with the VA and the VA's mental health structures, but that also works in with getting mental health for the public as general. Veterans shouldn't be special and be the only ones that get treatment at the VA for free. Mental health and health services should be free for everyone. So thank you all inviting me here, inviting the community, the veterans community, to join hands with the mental health community. We look forward to working with you guys and strengthening these bonds and continue fighting, because they're not going to give anything to us. We're going to have to take everything we want back.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience and the importance of these mental health services. Our final speaker tonight will be Florencia Cano. another consumer of Northwest Mental Health Clinic, who will give testimony about the negative impact the clinic closure has had on her life, and attest to the fact that healthcare is indeed a human right. Florencia?
Good afternoon. My name is Florencia Cano. I am a former patient of Northwest Mental Health Center that is located at 2354 North Milwaukee Avenue, and I am a present patient of North River Mental Health Center located at 5801 North Pulaski Road. About 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with depression. Sometimes I was not able to sleep, and other times I will sleep for too many hours. I was not able to eat by myself. My mother and one of my younger sisters will have to place the food in my mouth. I was not able to bathe me by myself. I was admitted at a mental health hospital for 12 days. Then I continued with my recovery at Northwest with my Spanish-speaking therapist, Rose Torres. I was seen by my therapist at Northwest and feeling better until April 9, 2012, when the mayor of the city of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, decided to close our clinic along with other 5 clinics within the city of Chicago. Now, I have to travel 1 hour and a half by bus to get to the North River Clinic. It practically takes me all day to go to one appointment. I am bilingual English-Spanish speaking patient, and I am very lucky that my therapist, Rose Torres, is also bilingual. However, I prefer to receive my therapy in Spanish. And although I have to travel far away to receive my therapy, I thank God for receiving it from the same therapist that I have known for many years and in which I trust. However, not all my peers have had the same luck. Some of my peers speak only Spanish. Some of my monolingual Spanish-speaking peers lost their Spanish therapist due to the layoff. Other peers got lost trying to find North River and other clinics to where their therapists were transferred to. And many others have not been able to continue with their therapy since they don't have the financial resources to take 2 or more buses to get to North River or other clinics. Many people in our community don't have insurance and need public clinics. Furthermore, they are not familiarized with the area and feel uncomfortable out of their community. One of my peers already walked from her house to North River Clinic and took her 1 hour and a half to get to the clinic with this kind of weather. What is going to happen in the winter time when the cold and the snow come? In conclusion, we believe that everybody has the right to mental health services and that we need them in our communities, in our own language, and from the people who understand our own culture. We will keep on fighting until they open up our mental health clinics and respect our human rights. Thank you.
Florencia, thank you so much for sharing with us your intimate knowledge of what good therapy can mean to someone and what the lack of it can mean to someone. I would now like to recognize the supporters of this event: Illinois Single Payer Coalition, Sage Community Health Collective, St. Luke's Lutheran Church of Logan Square, AFSCME Council 31, Illinois Chapter of Physicians for a National Health Program, Campaign for Better Healthcare, Healthcare Alternative Systems, Doctors Council SEIU, Diabetes Empowerment Center, Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, Humboldt Park Social Services, Logan Square Neighbors for Justice and Peace, and of course, the Chicago Mental Health Movement and the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. Okay, we invited 6 aldermen here tonight, and we would like to see now whether any of them are present, or I hope all of them are present. Ward 1, Alderman Moreno. Is there anyone here from Alderman Moreno's ward? Please stand up. Please stand up. What are you going to do? Okay, what are you going to tell him? Thank you. Ward 26, Alderman Maldonado, are you here? Is there anyone here from Alderman Maldonado's ward? Please stand up. Please. What are you going to do? And what are you going to tell him? Alderman Reboiras, Ward 31, are you here? 30. Ward 30, I beg your pardon. Are you here? Is there anyone here from Ward 30? Please stand up. Stand up. What are you going to do? Wonderful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's here from Swanet's ward?
Oh, ask if he's here.
Is the alderman here from Swanet's ward? Alderman Swanet's here? No. Who's here from his ward? Can you stand up, please? Okay. And what are you going to do? Is Alderman Colon here? Who's from Colon's ward? There you go. And what are you going to do? And what are you going to say?
Did we do Ragaspat? Okay.
Alderman Ragaspat. Is he here? No. Who's from his ward? Okay, perfect. And what are you all going to say?
We invited 6 aldermen here, and our elected officials have been on this issue completely silent. What do you think about that? It is not a priority for them, and we have to make this issue a priority for them. Okay. I don't think we could all hear you, ma'am, but I appreciate that. What are all of you going to do? Could you all stand up and tell us what you're going to do? How about going to his office? To their offices? Yes? Okay. There are people here from all around the city. There are people from Rogers Park. Who's here from Rogers Park? There are people here from Pilsen. Who's here from Pilsen? There are people here from Uptown. There are people here from Hyde Park, from Englewood. Everyone should have a handout with directions on how to call your alderman, and urge them to call your alderman, call the commissioner, call the mayor, and tell them include all 6 mental health clinics in the 2013 city budget. Whoever here agrees to call your alderman, stay standing, and if you're not going to do it, sit down. You're all standing. You're all going to do it. Awesome.
Thank you again for coming.